Morning, everybody. It's Wednesday, November 6th, 2024. Dr. Kenton wakes up. I'm Dr. Kenton. How you doing? I'm a little shell-shocked, I have to admit. I allowed myself to believe that the country would see beyond its racism and misogyny and try to find a way to accept that a black woman might be able to lead this country, at least in as capable a way as the current incumbent has, instead of deciding in an electoral, in a very clear electoral college showing that the country would prefer to have the former guy back. I have to tell you, it doesn't make any sense to me. How you would decide to put back somebody who has openly acknowledged that he wants to be a dictator, that there's a Project 2025 that he intends to, well, the ultra the ultra right wing part of the Republican Party has Project 2025 on the table, and my belief is that that the Republican Party is going to try to implement many of those things with him in power. Put someone in power who necessitated the Supreme Court to say that official acts done by the president while in the office of the president are not subject to prosecution, even though those acts are arguably extremely illegal. Not for me to say. I'm not on the Supreme Court. But the guy who caused all the trouble last time when he couldn't accept the electoral results, it's one of those things where, I study how people change their mind, how they choose to accept a given premise even though it disagrees with the one that they currently hold. And I had a hopeful disposition toward the United States and its citizenry, that they would see beyond. But instead, they want the guy who's gonna run amok and tell people they have to accept it because he's doing it as president. And you anticipate that the Supreme Court, that's now 6-3 Republican, the next president would be a safe time for any of those Republican Supreme Court justices to retire if they were in the mood to retire, but only if a Republican president became president. Well, now here we are. And so what I predict right now, that we're going to have 6 Supreme Court justices of the Republican persuasion that are each under 60 years old, and we'll have 3 Democratic who do their best, hopefully, to at least throw 3 votes against the despot and his miserable unhappiness. Anyway, today's Wednesday. I teach class tonight. I have some prep work I need to do today to get ready for that. I've got to send some emails as a result of a meeting that I had yesterday afternoon. And mostly I gotta study the example of James Stockdale a little bit. If I've maybe mentioned his name before, but he was came to people's attention because he was the vice presidential candidate for Ross Perot. I think it was in '92, somewhere around there, maybe '88. He committed the unpardonable sin in the United States. He was bad on TV by saying some things that were probably not even as incoherent as some of the stuff that we hear from the former guy and the future guy. But behind that, the reason why he was chosen, perhaps, is that he was a man of immense character, was a POW for, I want to say, 7 years during Vietnam. Studied the Stoic philosophers, found the strongest example to live by from Epictetus, who was a slave, born a slave, was freed at some point later in his life, and started giving lectures that some were recorded. If you can find a collection of the discourses, you should find that. There's also the Enchiridion or Enchiridion. I don't speak Greek, but it's handbook. The handbook, which is excerpts, the high points, the highlights, the take it around with you summaries of the discourses. But the reason why I think that James Stockdale's example is one to emulate is that he was in a position where he had very little control over his circumstance while he was a prisoner of war. Yet he found that by safeguarding his moral virtue and his ethical behavior, he provided an example to the other POWs. That many of those POWs who in the previous conflicts, World War II, Korea, and such, the POWs were generally, especially ones who were tortured, were subject to really bad cases of PTSD. But Stockdale's adherence to the precepts that you are a man, human. Humans have foibles, humans make mistakes. Humans need to recognize that what is past and to look forward. It's we can't hope to overturn the results of the election, so we have to understand what we can do. And there's plenty. If people are willing to stand up on their back legs and resist because the premise is illegal, then I think we got half a chance. But people who want to give up and wait for the guy to either die or finish his second term and be ineligible for further terms. God, the guy would be, what, 82 or I don't know. Anyway. Not that being 82 is a crime, but he's already showing signs of heavy wear at 78. Find a copy of the discourses and read them through and recognize that what we have in front of us is an opportunity to acknowledge the truth, acknowledge the responsibility that we all have, and to move forward with confidence that protecting, this is my summary, protecting the essential humanity of each human being is what my goal will be for the next 4+ years. Sorry about had 2 political ones in the same week. That wasn't by design, but that's how it is. Alright, have a great hump day if you celebrate, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Love you, bye.